how will we know?
We are live. Here
Okay.
we go.
Oh, fantastic. Great.
Perfect.
Hello. Hello to Matt Blackhurst Evans and Paul Brophy.
Hi, everyone.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us. As you all know, OptixTV is brand new for us. This is our first stream. We've tried to set it up as a bit of a conversation between the three of us, and then you'll be kind of privy to our conversation. So we'll just be talking as if we're talking to each other rather than talking to all of you people listening. But if you do have any questions or anything, we do have some questions feeding through to us from the rest of the team. So let us know. You can write it in the chat box on the YouTube channel, and the questions will come through to us. Hi guys, welcome to the live stream. Hi. Al, Crystal.
Hi, Becky.
We're all at home. It's very exciting. Where are you guys calling in from?
Well, I'm currently sat in my children's playroom, which is interesting. So I've got as many toys as I need to play for the day.
Excellent.
Good morning. I'm in a very sunny spare room, which has become my sort of HQ, as it were, and it's working really well. And I've got a lot of things on the go. So my top tip for anyone working from home is to charge everything. So I've got the phone, the laptop, the tablet as well. And it's all really useful. I see Alistair has his AirPods in as well.
Yeah,
it's a good tip, that actually. I must admit, I've run down my battery faster than I've ever run it down on my phone every single day since this has occurred. So I don't know if you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've just had I've had an Apple charger plugged in next to me, and it's plugged into my iPad, and then once that's charged, I rotate it to my phone, and then I rotate it to my work phone.
I feel you.
Cool. Okay. So obviously we are here today to talk about the current situation and how businesses can deal with it and how they can adapt and thrive, really. So to start us off, obviously, Al, you have been in the business a really long time. No jokes about age there. Can you tell us a little bit about if you've ever seen anything like this before, or how you've dealt with struggles with the business before, or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So, before we go too much further, it's been 20 years, which I recognise I look a lot younger than obviously I do here. But yeah, I mean, we no one's seen anything like this before. Obviously, you know, this is word unprecedented is going to have to be one of the words of the year, isn't it? Because we've heard that a fair few times. But you know, so we are in unprecedented times. But I think the closest that I can remember was probably the recession. So back in 2008, when we had the banking crisis, and we went into very dark times for kind of it was probably 18 months to 2 years. James and I, we had a slightly different business back then. We probably only had about between 5 and 10 people. So we kind of doubled in size really since then. But the lessons that I took away from that time, I think, are probably quite useful to people at this time as well. And so I thought I'd just quickly share some of those. And I wrote a blog article on my LinkedIn profile. So if anyone wants to kind of go and read a little bit more about that, please do, because there are some tips at the bottom of that about how to kind of get your digital marketing strategy off the ground and things like that as well. So we will go into some of these things today as we talk. But I think the key points for me are that yes, we've been for a period, certainly in the last couple of weeks, of kind of panic and pandemonium, and I've talked to a lot of business owners, and I know that that's the case, and that a lot of people are feeling like that. But we are hopefully over the next few weeks going to start to get into this kind of new normal, and I think that's the time when hopefully businesses will have a bit more time to kind of reflect and think about their marketing going forward. And the key messages I think that I took from the recession were that the businesses that didn't stop marketing, and actually some increased it at the time of the recession, were the ones that really won. Now, there are a few reasons for that. One is that, you know, you don't turn marketing on and off, right? So we're we're not marketing, but most of us are probably not marketing to sell something tomorrow or today, unless you're an e-commerce site maybe. We're looking to drive awareness and increase our inquiries for something that might be purchased in 3 months or 6 months down the line. So if we turn marketing off now, then actually what's going to happen is we're going to have a hole down the line, which is going to be more of a problem, right? So keeping it going at this time is incredibly important. The other points that I made on the article were that it's harder to get going if you stop, right? So you lose traction, you lose awareness in people's minds. So it's really difficult then to pick that up, and no one knows how long this is going to go on, right? So we might come off lockdown in 3 weeks' time, or it might be 3 months. We don't really know at the moment, and it seems to be changing every day. So I think we've got to prepare ourselves and just keep things ticking along, so that, you know, on the other side of this, we have got traction and we can continue to build from there. And that's the kind of reason that we're doing stuff like this, and certainly we haven't stopped our own marketing. If anything, we've doubled down on it over this last couple of weeks. And then the final point that I made in that article was just that, you know, your competitors are probably stopping. Your competitors are probably cutting down their marketing. So what a great opportunity to actually overtake some of them, and, you know, get that space that they might have been taking before and really use it.
I think that's absolutely true, particularly on the last point in things like PPC. So that's paid search advertising, paid per click advertising in Google, and even on Facebook. There are lots of people who are, you know, Google now has a thing within Google Ads that lets you see your impression share. And I just checked for one client today, and the cost for their advertising had dropped by 20%, but their impression share had gone up, or the cost of their advertising had dropped by 10%, but their impression share had actually gone up by 20%. And if your impression share is going up, then that shows you that other people are dropping out. So this isn't necessarily just something that's just out in the air that you have to guess about. If you are an existing Google Ads user, you can have a look and see where the competition is moving, and you can also have a look and see, you know, where bids are dropping, and that sort of thing. So if people are dropping out of the auction, then that's prime time to snap up customers that are still interested, still looking, still thinking about this. And with regards to SEO, you know, getting sort of traction with search terms, and things, Google, you know, they privilege newer content. So if you're creating newer content around your core terms, around your core product, while other people are not creating content about that, then you're going to be able to sort of build on that. And generally speaking, particularly with long tail keywords and blogs and things like that, you'll get a few views in the beginning, but then it just sort of builds. It continues to build, and it continues to build momentum. So if you can get in now while everyone is online, then you know, there are some really, really good opportunities. And it's not to say that it's not challenging. It absolutely is a very challenging time for people to sort of be thinking about this. But there are still opportunities.
Yeah, I think that kind of picks up on the last thing you said there, Crystal, about everyone being online. There's all sorts of customers that you perhaps didn't have before, and there's audiences that weren't there before that are newly online, or they're online at different times of day. They've got more time, they're looking for different things. So there's kind of people out there to reach if you're going to up the marketing to try and find them.
Yeah, and I think we chatted about this a number of times over the last couple of weeks at Optix, haven't we? But the thing that keeps kind of resonating in my mind at the moment is this term that people are sort of using around how what you do now, how you act at the moment is going to define you when you come out of this the other side. And that's both from a personal perspective. So, you know, maybe you're doing some volunteering, or you're going and getting shopping for elderly people or vulnerable people. You know, that's going to impact the way that people think about you after this. But also from a business perspective, and this is where there's a bit of a grey area with marketing, but if you can be seen to kind of really genuinely help people and give advice, useful tips and advice during this time, you will get in front of people and you will be remembered for that. So, you know, I'm seeing a lot of businesses that are unfortunately, in some cases, sort of sticking their heads in the sand. And I think that's a really bad strategy. Whereas there's also, on the flip side of that, a lot of businesses that are out there really trying to proactively help people at this time and understand that it's not actually really business as usual. And we need to kind of pivot and do things differently and give away advice and content and, you know, all the stuff actually, ironically, that we have been telling people to do anyway. We're now telling them they've got to do it because, you know, who wants to hear about some new product or some new widget that you're trying to sell them at the moment? It's not really the way to do things. So, and I think we're going to try and get into some of those ideas as we go through this today, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think that probably leads us quite nicely into talking about some of the businesses that we've seen pivoting in this time.
Yeah.
Al, you had some good client examples?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a list of people that I've sort of noted down next to me just because I've been inspired by what they've done. And I think, you know, I see it as our job really to kind of take some of those lessons and see whether we can apply those to other clients or our own business during this time. So I just thought it'd be useful to kind of run through those. I'm sure you guys have got a couple of your own as well. So, you know, in no particular order, really, the first one I think that we saw was Darts Farm. So Darts Farm are a client first, just full disclosure there. There are other farm shops available. They did an amazing job immediately of kind of jumping on the online delivery, bringing online delivery really into their offering, which is something they didn't really do before. They have now extended that to national delivery. They offered a pickup service from their car park in the very early days, which I thought was really clever. They took pretty much everything. We redesigned their site at the beginning of this year, and it went live. So they're kind of very new to that, and they've just pivoted very, very quickly to let's get the things that we need to get online as quickly as possible so that people can buy. And they did stuff like they offered over 70s free delivery and some other areas as well. And I think, you know, we've all seen and loved the videos that they've been doing as well, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's something. There was a question from someone within the stream, Mr. Paul Brophy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was asking about whether clients should continue, whether clients should continue marketing or whether or not it's seen as distasteful. And I think that Darts Farm are a really good example of getting the tone right. Darts Farm have been doing some great work with their videos, so showing people exactly how to visit their shop safely, and how to exercise social distancing, how to use hand sanitizer, and they've got a really good tone that's just trying to be helpful. Like they're being really helpful and really supportive of people at this time. And I think that when we think about marketing and messaging at this time, that should be absolutely at the fore, is making sure that we are genuinely supportive of people during this time, because that's what we all need. We're all in this together. This is affecting everyone. So so that should be at the fore.
Crystal, just to jump in on that point as well and add to it, I think there's different forms or different strands of marketing here as well, isn't there? So you've got what we call inbound marketing. So, where that there are people out there searching for you at the moment. So Darts is a good example of that. There will be people out there who are searching for companies that can provide online services and delivery, right? So it's not distasteful to use marketing to get in front of those people that already need that service, right? So and it's not something that's just going to happen. That we've needed to kind of make sure that their site's optimized. We're looking at kind of paid advertising with them options. They're doing social advertising themselves. So that area definitely isn't distasteful. And I think the other point that I mentioned a minute ago was that yes, there are areas, and we've definitely seen some companies get this wrong and probably are classed as distasteful. But actually, if you're educational and you're helpful, then you're going to drive an audience and an awareness that maybe you didn't have before. And that was the point Crystal made at the very beginning. So there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I think so. The example that Paul actually gave in the question was about recruiters. There's been quite a lot of backlash about that kind of marketing being distasteful, but I think it kind of goes to one of the core marketing principles that we use with our clients around persona marketing. So if you were to look at who your persona is, what's their pains, what's their motivations, even as a recruiter, you can still find people who have got certain pains at the moment, or they're needing certain information or certain help, and you just kind of market in a different way.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think that because so many businesses are changing the way that they're servicing their clients, the way that they're helping people, there are going to be different needs. And again, tone is very important right now. Tone is extremely important. But at the same time, people need to know that you're still available for them. So if you are a recruiter, and I've worked with recruitment clients, some of my favorite clients are recruiters. I think that there are still businesses that are looking for staff, and there are businesses that are looking for staff in different ways as well. So I think Google, for instance, have another business pivoting sort of thing. Google are making sure that you're allowed to change events to be virtual now. So previously, you could say the location of an event was, I don't know, West Point or Sandy Park or whatever it may be. And now you can say that an event is virtual. Similarly, there are going to be opportunities for people to look at virtual working. There's also going to be people who are like Dart's Farm, or like one of the other clients that we've been looking at, Dartmoor Brewery. They've recently started doing delivery as a beer delivery because in tough times like these, there's a lot of people looking for beer, so they started. So if you've got a new service and that you need staff in order to fill that, then yeah, there's that is something that might be relevant. But again, tone is important, and you should definitely pay attention to that. And then.
Sorry, Crystal, just one of the other things, just to pick up quickly on the darts example we were using a minute ago as well, which you and I have chatted about personally, is that it's been interesting, hasn't it, to see how they've started to use video a lot more in their marketing. And if anyone's interested, you should go and have a look at the Darts Farm Facebook page and the Instagram account to see what they're doing. But to kind of try and explain quickly, they're doing just real, raw but authentic videos around the shop. There's one of the marketing ladies there, Lizzie, is literally getting her camera out. She's filming Michael Dart talking about what they're doing. We said earlier, showing the sort of sanitization stations, talking about what's in the shop, how they're dealing with social distancing, all of those kind of things. And these aren't professional quality videos, right? And none of us are going to be able to do those anyway at the moment, because we can't get professional quality businesses to come out and film our videos. So I think one of the key messages for me is that, don't worry about getting going with this stuff when it comes to video. Just start to do it, produce the content. Don't worry about it being perfect, because you'll never do it otherwise, right? And video is just such an enormous opportunity for any business at the moment. I know we're kind of segueing slightly into the ideas section of this, which we're probably doing a bit early, but the chances for businesses to perhaps create their own YouTube channels and start to optimize those YouTube channels. I mean, don't forget that YouTube is one of the biggest search engines in the world, right? People are looking for information and help and advice on YouTube. So if you don't have a YouTube channel, if you're not creating those videos, you can't be found. So, I think there are some real positives that are going to come out of this, the other side, and the way that we are starting to do business now and look at it. Hopefully we'll get some lessons for doing marketing on the other side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some other examples as well?
Actually, what you just said actually kind of links to a question that we've had. So Benjamin Corbally, I hope I've said that right too.
Corbally.
Corbally.
I don't know. He says, what's our thoughts around the change in the way that people are interacting with businesses? Because marketing isn't all about getting new customers, it's playing a massive role in changing consumer behaviour and delivering communication.
Yeah, I think from our side, I mean, Al's changed the way that he communicates with customers. So Al's been doing a lot of videos. I mean, Al always does a lot of videos, but Al's been doing quite a few videos that are talking specifically about how to talk to clients via video. And one of his videos was also talking about email. And we've done quite a few specific emails to people who have existing client bases, obviously. About how they're adapting to the situation, what new services they're providing, how people can keep in touch with them, how people can find out about new services and that sort of thing. And keeping in touch with your existing clients is extremely important. And we've done that for a few of our sort of e-commerce clients, to let people know that shops are still open. Or, for instance, we've also done some of that communication with making sure that people have a dedicated COVID page with updates and information about the businesses. So our developers were I think a week or two ago, were working flat out. Shout out to Rich and Jack there, and Sam for coordinating all of that. But trying to make sure that all of those messages are really clear, and customers were really responding to them. So customers are finding them really useful. I did quite a lot of work with clients, making sure that not only were there updates on the page, but also in search via Google My Business, which is a really good tool for communicating to clients. And I think that, again, people that come to your shop every day or come to your shop every week, people that work with your business on a regular basis, they care about you. You're part of their lives. So yeah, of course, it is important to sort of keep in touch with them.
It's interesting. I had a strategy call with a client yesterday, and this was I probably shouldn't share the name of the client just for confidentiality reasons, but it was interesting that this client in particular had never done any kind of email communications to their client base that were kind of in a more kind of marketing manner. They were all transactional. So and this for the first time was like, oh, actually, we can actually start to help our customers. We have expertise in this area, and now let's talk about how we're going to create an email strategy to help point our customers at things that we know about and can share with them that they might not know about. So it's like a breath of fresh air, actually, to kind of see that client start thinking less transactionally and more about actually helping people. And it's the same message we were talking about really a minute ago, isn't it? I'm conscious of time, and we want to get through some other examples really, don't we? So for me, one of the ones I wanted to share, and the reason we're doing this as well on the stream, by the way, is because we just hope that people might pick out little things from these, and they might be lessons that they can take to their businesses or adapt the way that they're thinking about their strategy. And this one isn't a business actually, but it was really fascinating. So this is my son's school, Broadcliff School, which is a little place in Exeter, just down the road from me. Broadcliff School is already quite well renowned. It's a primary school. It's well renowned for being a Microsoft backed school. So the headmaster there is amazing, and he goes out and he talks at Microsoft conferences in America and stuff like that. So you'd imagine that someone like that is automatically going to be really on the ball. But what was unbelievable was that the day the schools shut, they essentially created an entire virtual school using Microsoft Teams and plugins to that the next day or the day after that. So now, and obviously it's Easter holidays at the moment, so it's not happening, but when the schools are there, when Oscar has to log in at 9 o'clock on Microsoft Teams, and you've got 30 5-year-olds literally on with their little microphones, with their headphones. It's absolutely amazing. Like legs are dangling in the air and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy, absolute carnage. But they all log in, they do their reception, and then they go to an assembly. So they have a 400 student assembly where the headmaster, it's essentially a webinar. And then for the rest of the day, Liz has uses the Microsoft Teams calendar, and every single lesson is planned out. And if it might be that lesson links to like a YouTube video, or it might be a live video with a teacher. So, you know, I was helping Oscar create a little boat that moved along with soap the other day. But we did that live with that teacher via Microsoft Teams. So, I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, they can upload their work via Flipgrid and all this kind of clever stuff. So just a really good example of, again, a not a business, well, it is a business, but a school that has pivoted extremely quickly online and is doing a great job of it. And yes, they had problems on the first couple of days. Yes, the parents were pulling their hair out, but we very quickly within that first week, they got their heads around it. And I think businesses need to be doing the same. They have to be thinking about how they can do stuff differently now in this new normal.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have tools in their marketing tool chest that they haven't used. So there'll be features. You know, within our team, we've been using Microsoft Teams a lot more. We've had the feature before, but we weren't using it so much because we were in the office, and you know, we would use other tools like Slack and things like that. So we're using that. I mean, Becky, you've overseen you know, the sort of Optics Digital Academy, or you know, now doing virtual courses. How have you found that?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, how are we going to keep the academy going? But it's that thing of, and Crystal, I know this is your word, so, you know, if you want to explain it, that's fine. But this is your opportunity thing. So for anyone who hasn't heard this word, that's not a real word, Crystal likes to put crisis and opportunity together, because out of crisis, you can bring opportunities. And I think actually the academy is a really good example of this. So we started the academy October last year. It's an in-person thing. We do it up at Reed Hall at Exeter Uni. We have kind of 10, 12 delegates per month. We do different topics, and we've been talking internally, you know, how do we scale this? How do we move it on from where it is at the moment? And I think really this has kind of thrown us into that opportunity, because now we're in a position where we've had our first session, we did it virtually, everyone was able to attend, ask questions, do interactive things just as they would in the room. And because we're now doing it virtually, it means that we can open it up to wider than the local area. We can have the opportunity to do shorter sessions if we wanted to on different topics. We could possibly have more topics per month. It's kind of brought about all of these possibilities that we didn't have before. So although it was a little bit of a drop off a cliff at the start whilst you were thinking about it, it's actually now kind of sparking all these ideas within the team and the delegates. And yeah, I think it's worked really well, to be honest.
I mean, there is a massive opportunity for people, isn't there? Like, in terms of, I imagine that people will be, most people that will be probably watching this or watch it later will be local people to us, just because it's been shared within our own networks. So, but now we don't have to live in this kind of geographic bubble. We can deal with anyone anywhere. And yes, that was to be honest, that was sort of true with us. We do have clients up country in London, Manchester, places like that, but it's hard to travel there and it takes time, right? So now that we've all been forced to use these tools, and it's actually okay, and we can have decent meetings, and we're having this conversation now, you know, it's just made us realize that this is okay. So suddenly, if businesses are looking for an opportunity, one of those opportunities is breaking down those geographic boundaries and starting to think about where else you can sell in the country that maybe you had a bit of a mindset block of before.
Yeah, I mean, something that's really like an industry that's probably really taken a hit with all of this is going to be the events industry and conferences and that kind of thing. So last week I actually attended a conference which was entirely virtual. It had a full program from kind of 8:30 through to about 4 o'clock for 2 days. And it was a kind of group which was set up in Exeter but through doing this virtually, they managed to reach people all over the country and actually further out into Europe as well. And it meant that those speakers who were kind of doing a local slot before, they were then speaking to way more people, sharing the message. Everyone was asking questions, and they did little breakout things where you could meet each other. And actually, whilst I was kind of apprehensive at first, like, how is a virtual conference going to work? It was actually great. And it kind of brought all the things that you'd want from a conference that you attended, and possibly more that you might not have got before.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, that's amazing. And similarly, as you said, Darts Farm, for instance, now has people who are, now is reaching a national sort of audience. Dartmoor Brewery are also now serving national clients with their service. And yeah, I think where there's a price opportunity, sometimes these things, I think that and it's not to downplay the situation at all. Like, this is a very tricky situation, and I hope that everyone is keeping safe at all times. I certainly am, and I'm certainly I'm expecting my family to. But these things sometimes allow you to take stock and to sort of think again. And if you can come out of that, then you will come out stronger.
Absolutely. Before we move on, just to quickly spin through a couple of others that maybe we won't have as much time to talk about, but have seen and probably would signpost businesses to go and have a look at in different industries. So we've probably everyone on this stream has seen or heard about Joe Wicks. My kids are now doing his PE session, and
they're really hard. Al, have you tried to do one?
I haven't been. I've been asked to do one, so I'm sure it won't be long before I'm cajoled into it. But Joe obviously he had a huge following anyway, didn't he? So he's doing very well off from that. But and he's giving it away all for free, I should say. But in a slightly different example in the same industry, I've seen a few PTs that have started to do their sessions via Facebook. My own PT actually is doing some of the sessions one-to-one. His one-to-one sessions, doing them via video link as well. So he's actually telling you what to do, watching what you're doing, and making sure that you're doing it effectively and in the right way via video, which I thought was quite an interesting and ingenious way to do it. We've probably again all heard of some of the zoos. So, Chester, I think, has led the way. Painston's doing a great job of this, getting webcams up in places maybe they weren't there before, showing the kids the animal feeding times, but also linking that into kind of donation opportunities to adopt some of those animals as well. So, we don't have the stats on whether that's working or not, but it's interesting to kind of see them doing that. And actually, I think Liz pointed out to me that one of the zoos had managed to come up with a package that was directly aimed at the different key stages of the curriculum. So you could download resources about the animals based on what key stage your child was at. And that's, again, really clever way of kind of doing, people are out there looking for this kind of stuff because, both Crystal and I have got children and it's hard keeping them busy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We want some help, any help.
And I think that there's, and people are talking about all of these great resources. So like everyone I know is talking about Joe Wicks, for instance, and the National Theatre have recently released. They're doing a weekly release of a live theatre show, like every Thursday, I think now. And so I think last week was One Man, Two Governors, and they're going to be reaching brand new audiences who previously had not been engaging with that sort of experience. The Royal Ballet, I think, is doing the same thing, and the Royal Opera House is also doing the same thing. Again, they're going to be reaching new people, and I think that there's that basically if you can be of service to people, to help people to sort of get through this time and to sort of to stay well and to stay safe, then that's really good. I mean, I know there's definitely like other people like Louis Vuitton start changed over all of their perfumeries to be making hand sanitizers, for instance.
Yeah, I actually read, Crystal, I read this morning that Tarquin's Gin, which I think is a local one.
It looks likely, yeah.
I think they're local. They've done the same. So that came out in an article this morning, I think.
Absolutely, and I think BrewDog also started doing something similar. Yeah. So and I think that there, you know, some of the event spaces have been turning themselves into field hospitals. So I think that, and you know, we saw similar stuff to this during World War II, but I think that there's people are changing tact where they can, and I think that is that if we are thinking about our resources and thinking about them as cleverly as we can, then there are definitely ways to sort of you know make not necessarily make the most of the situation in the sort of general term, but to make
do the best you can
and to be helpful in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think this probably leads into one of the questions that we had before the stream. So when everyone signed up, some people sent in some questions, and it's actually something I was talking about on the phone to someone this morning as well, about this being kind of an opportunity for independence, because the high street and the big brands and stuff are all closed. We're all now kind of shopping local because we have to, rather than before, when the marketing would have been like, oh, shop local, it's nice, you know, like, you know where it's come from, that kind of thing. Do we think that this is going to be kind of the comeback of back to that kind of war era, where we're all going to our local butchers and we're buying gifts from the shop down the road and that kind of thing?
I mean, I think big fan of local shopping, try to support it as much as possible. I think there are going to be some really big opportunities for those local businesses that think cleverly. Actually, in the same village that the school's based in, Broadcliffe, I know that the little shop there has kind of got together with the local butcher, and they've kind of formed a bit of a partnership and then started doing online delivery to the village. So yes, I think, you know, local places working together is a really nice thing to see. I think I'm right in saying that sadly Debenhams went into administration today. I don't know for certain. I haven't caught up with the news, but I'm pretty sure I saw an article this morning early saying that it had appointed administrators. So, you know, there's another high street store gone that we all know. So yeah, I think probably there are opportunities here. I think the risk is that some of those small businesses don't necessarily have the cash flow to get through this situation. That's my worry, and you know, hopefully we can all do as much as we can to support them. And you know, maybe they just need some helpful tips and advice from a digital perspective to just start to build their kind of online followings as much as possible, because their digital presence is their only presence at the moment, right? So as it is for all of us. So yeah, I think there are, you know.
And I think the advantage that independents have and that smaller businesses have is that they can pivot more quickly sometimes, and they are more likely to have a sort of personal connection to their client base. Yeah. So I think that there was a greengrocer on Magdalen Road in Exeter here who was just run off his feet with orders to local people, and also, you know, the larger companies are they have more cash flow, but in order to change at scale, it takes more, you know, there are more cogs in the wheel to sort of get that done. So we're finding that we're personally at home for our lockdown supplies. We're turning to smaller suppliers, more independent suppliers, because, you know, their queues for Tesco are the queues for the Tesco deliveries are like a week, or, you know, you can't get a slot, or you have to queue outside for, you know, an hour and a half or whatever it is to get it done. Whereas, you know, if I book in with my local farm shop, I can get something in a couple of days. So I think that there's something with there are opportunities for smaller businesses. The other thing that I think is a really, really good opportunity right now for smaller businesses is to take the opportunity to do a bit of training, and to stop being shy. I know a lot of people get shy about being online, and being on video, and doing live streams, and things like that. But this is the opportunity. If your clients are used to seeing you in your shop, or used to seeing you at networking events, used to seeing you, you know, just in your office, then making yourself, checking in with them via video, checking in with them via live stream is a really valuable tool. So I think that, and getting training on those tools. So we offer social media training. There's also tons. Most platforms also have their own sort of training facilities available. So I have a friend who runs a shop, and she's got and it's a small independent shop, and she's got Shopify. And I was like, you should be having your people looking at Shopify. Shopify has an academy. People should be getting tooled up on that. Particularly if you have staff that are used to working on the shop floor, this is an opportunity to get them to know newer skills. And also if they're used to working on the shop floor, this is an opportunity to get them to sort of like, look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their social media profile, because every single person within your team is an influencer, and every single person within your team has the ability to keep your brand in people's minds, and not necessarily in a buy sort of way, but in a sort of, just so that they know what's going on with your team.
It's a really good point, actually, that the training side of things, because a lot of people are going to be wanting to kind of upskill and look at those opportunities. So, who can we point people in the direction of at the moment? There's the likes of Google Garage, isn't there? Yeah. If you want to kind of look at your digital skills, there's a site called Udemy, udemy.com, which is it's basically an online university. You can pretty much find a course for anything on that. So if you're looking to kind of upskill in terms of digital, then that's a great place to start.
The Moz Academy is free at the moment.
Oh yeah, good point. So and I think if we come up with others, then we'll try and share those with this video later on.
Obviously, our own academy.
Yes, there is that. Should we just chat a little bit about a bit more digital, specifically in terms of tactics,
yes,
and what we've been sort of seeing? So maybe just worth mentioning to people that Google and most of the major social networks have come out and said that they are going to be supporting small businesses through this crisis with free advertising of some form. It's worth saying that there will be stipulations on that. So with Google, for example, you will have had to have advertised with them since January 2019 to be accepted for that program. And there are some that we just don't know an awful lot about at the moment, but we're watching this space very carefully, and maybe you guys who are watching this should do so as well. Although if you don't want to, just follow us and we'll keep sharing as much as we can. And we've talked about what other businesses are doing, and I think it would be good to kind of segue a little bit into things like how we can use content maybe to get in front of people. So more sort of tips and advice. Again, it's stuff that, I feel slightly bizarre talking about, because we talk about it all the time anyway, but it's just so relevant now, isn't it? So if a business wants to use content to get in front of people, Crystal, what are the key steps for doing that? Where do you start?
Okay, so with content, as always, as you keep saying, content is king, and there's ways to sort of look after the king. So I'm looking at your little castle in the background. So with content, you should always think about who the content is for. So of course you've got fantastic products, of course you've got fantastic services, of course everything you do is wonderful, and that's all cool. But you should make sure that you can think about how it's relevant to your customers, and you should make sure that you know who your customers are. So within Optix, we have personas. So we have Bob, Alex, and Lucy, and they are and that's where we try to pitch all of our sort of communications and our products and services for so that it serves one of those personas. And we spend time thinking about what each of those marketing personas needs and requires, how they like to get their information, when they like to get their information, and what's useful for them. And it can be and it can sound complicated, but I mean, even when I'm writing like a social media post, I used to do social media for a golf client, for instance, and And I have a friend who is golf mad, and if the sun is shining, he's out golfing, and that's what he wants to do, and that's his favorite thing. And so when I would write social media posts for this golf course, I would think about him, and I would think that I was writing to my friend Henry. And so, this is how I would talk to Henry. And I would have that in my mind when I was writing the things. And when you're doing that, it makes content flow so much more easily. So you're not just going, we're great, we're amazing, our products are fantastic, they cost this much. You're thinking, hey, Henry, you'll really like this because you like this, or hey, Henry, you'll really like this because this is something that you really enjoy, it makes you happy, your friends will love it, all of that sort of stuff. So always keep in mind who you're talking or who you want to talk to. And when you're doing that, you should also think about your channel. So I think a lot of people, when we think about content, will think about blogs, sort of in the first instance, but that's not the only thing. So there's blogs, there's your social media, there's videos, the pictures that you put on your website, or the pictures that you put on your social media. Pretty much anything that you produce is classed as content, and having engaging content and relevant content right now is really useful. And to find that, you can use keyword research, and you can also look at what people are searching on your website. So within Google Analytics, you can look into to see what people are searching for within your website. And I think some CMSs will also tell you about your search history. So I think Shopify does. I can't remember off the top of my head. So yeah, you can look at the search volumes within your site. You can also look in Google Search Console. You can see the kinds of terms that you're coming up for, but maybe people aren't clicking for. So you can see your impressions, which is every time your web page has been shown, and then you can see your clicks, and you can see the difference between your impressions and your clicks. And then there's another tool called Google Trends, which is really useful right now. And there are a lot of SEOs that are spending a lot of their time in Google Trends at the moment, and it's telling you what kinds of things people are searching for right now. So, and that's all across the web. So it's very similar to if you go onto YouTube or to Twitter, and it tells you what's trending. Google Trends tells you what's trending just across the web, and it doesn't necessarily have to be linked to a hashtag. It will tell you that lots of people are looking for hand sanitizer, or lots of people are looking for grocery deliveries, or that sort of thing, and it'll tell you how those things are peaking. And if there's something within your sector that is relevant, then you should absolutely be making content to serve that.
And I think the other thing we talk to people about a lot is answering questions, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So and again, how important that is. So the bit that you've just looked in or talked about there is about kind of keywords and key phrases that people might be searching on. So to expand that to questions and thinking about, again, what are my personas and what are the questions, their pain points that they're sitting there at night asking Google or talking to their friends about. Was it Harry or Henry, your friend, the golfer? Henry? Yeah, so Henry, he's probably, if he's anything like me, wondering why he slices the ball every 5 seconds, and how does he stop slicing it? It's a frustration for me. So, if Henry is at home looking for that kind of content, and the golf course that has a pro that runs the shop knows the answer to not slicing as much, get that person to do a video about that and put it up on YouTube, share it on your social media sites, put it onto the website. And actually that in itself is another little tip that I think people forget about, which is really getting the most out of one bit of content, because it's quite hard to write a piece of content. It's to write a decent blog is probably going to take you an hour, 2 hours maybe to properly do it, maybe longer. A video, again, can take just as long to edit it and all this kind of stuff. So you really want to make your content work as hard as it can for you. And I think people, if it's a video, for example, people think just of the one channel that video applies to. So they might think, oh, that's for YouTube. Well, no, actually, it can be put onto your Facebook page. It can be put onto your Twitter, your LinkedIn even. Maybe you could go to your staff and ask them to add it to their LinkedIn profiles. There are loads of different ways of making content work for you. But I just think people got stuck in this mindset of one channel. To give people some advice, again, still on questions, the two sites that we love are Optix, and if you've been in any kind of meeting with us, you would have heard us talk about certainly one of these. So Answer the Public is a great tool. It's free up to a certain number of searches per day, so you can type in any phrase you want into that, and it will tell you some of the most popular questions that people are asking Google right now with that term in it. So that's a great place to kind of start the process of thinking about what content to create for your business. The other one, which has popped up a bit more recently, is a site called Also Asked. So also then asked.com. What that's doing, and I don't necessarily find that site as useful as doing it manually, but what this actually does is it when you search on something in Google now, quite often if you scroll down probably only just below the fold, sometimes above it, you'll see people also asked in there, right? And then it'll tell you the most popular questions. And what also asked.com is basically just taking that data and spitting it out in a nice kind of format. So, but the point is that, again, Google is telling us what these people want to know. So go and do some searches in your industry for your products, for your services, and see what people want to know. And then create the content around that. Again, it's stuff that we've been saying for a long time, but it's just so valuable now.
Yeah, and it's stuff that we've used for clients to get them ranking in top positions. Like,
yeah,
I had one client who was a local supplier, and he was ranking nationally for a particular question because we did the research. And I was very pleased with that. I would say I wasn't. But yeah, it's possible, and if you're clever about it, you can absolutely achieve it.
Yeah.
Should we talk about? Although the time is going, isn't it, guys? Wow, how quickly that happened. Hopefully, we should say this is going to be a series at some point, and we'll be able to focus on one topic at a time, maybe in the future or something like that. But I mean, just to get back to some other examples, one of the ones that I liked, and I don't know, I guess you do class this as marketing in a way, but I'm certain that the person that ran this, it wasn't his first intention, was the example of the local video company to us, Bitpod, who is run by a friend of ours, Alex Wren. Great company, great guy. And Alex recognised very quickly that people were going to need to do webinars. And, you know, that's quite scary for people. Even when we're digitally savvy in our business, you know, we don't do enough of those kind of things, and now we are starting to do them, obviously, and we will continue to do going forward. But the majority of businesses out there don't do this and really don't know. So Alex put on a free webinar about webinars and invited people to subscribe to it, and it was probably one of the most popular LinkedIn posts that I've seen in a long time. You know, I follow Alex, and I follow a lot of the people that follow him. And it was fascinating to see how much interest there was in that topic. So he's given up an enormous amount of his time to plan the seminar or plan the webinar, to put it on, to go into his office to shoot it. And yes, you know, it is a service that they produce, and they will no doubt now have people that want it. But I think he's done a really good thing for people on one hand, but he's also got a following now that really respect and trust him. So again, coming back to this kind of, is it distasteful marketing approach? Well, no, you know, he's helped people, and fair dues to him, and he'll definitely win on the other side because of that. So I don't know if you guys have kind of seen any other examples of people giving away free content in order to attract.
Yeah, well, one of our clients, Toasters, have created a whole coronavirus information hub, and there's a lot of legal advice in there. So Toasters are local solicitors, and they also serve clients nationally. Other solicitors are available, but they created an information hub which has lots of answers to lots of questions that people are asking now, and they are again thinking about it from a customer-centric point of view. And some of it relates directly to sort of services they provide, employment law information, and some of it is just about how to do social distancing and how to know more about or how to find the government information, the latest government information and advice, and that is, it's blogs and it's information. It's not as busy as a webinar necessarily. However, it is incredibly useful and exactly what people need, and it's the kind of reassurance and support that people need. I think similarly, some of the resources we've seen other people providing, I think we mentioned a few of them earlier, are really, really useful.
I think it's also a great chance to, to get to really try and grow your social media profiles as well, isn't it, at the moment? And actually, again, it comes back to being useful, being engaging, giving away advice, giving away tips rather than selling, because no one's going to want to follow you if you just do that. But I think a number of our clients have seen a growth immediately in their social media followings because they're doing those things. And of course, they will benefit from the fact that those social media followings are bigger the other side of this, whenever the other side actually occurs. So yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity to do that. I'm just really conscious of time. I just wanted to very quickly finish on, a couple of other bits that we've written down that we maybe haven't had as much time as we would have liked to cover. But I think just to spin through those, we talked about email marketing, but I think focusing on your customers at this moment in time is absolutely essential. Retention is critical as much as you can, and we've talked in our business a lot about over communicating. So, whereas we may have been talking to those customers once or twice a month, we might be talking to them once or twice a week at the moment. So I think that's really important. I really just wanted to make sure that people do be careful when it comes to SEO and search engine optimization, in that it's not something that you should turn off just to cut budgets. You've got to keep going on that kind of stuff, and you can't, if you do turn it off, then you've got to expect things might drop, and they're going to take ages to come back potentially as well. So please be careful with that. I saw an interesting article the other day on paid advertising, and it said that Google pay-per-click particularly is really winning when it comes to short, sharp bursts of marketing at the moment. So maybe looking at paid advertising is a really big potential win for people. But do be careful, because there's actually an awful lot. There's been a spike of people that are searching between the hours of midnight and something like 4 a.m. at the moment. And those people probably aren't going to buy necessarily, but they're just, I don't know, bored at home, I guess, or something. I'm not sure.
Is what I call those people.
Yeah, but so, if you are doing paid advertising, you can lock down your advertising to certain hours of the day. So maybe you need to just think about the way that you are approaching your advertising campaigns slightly differently to how you did before. And the other one is data capture. If your bricks and mortar business is locked down at the moment, which it will be probably, then maybe put on some data capture onto the website, so that when you are up and running again, you can immediately let people know via email that you're up and running and open for business again.
I think another one for data for bricks and mortar locations is to also, oh no, I lost my train of thought.
Don't worry.
Reviews. So if you have loyal customers who aren't able to visit you right now, and it's really a really good time to sort of ask them to sort of support you by giving you a nice review, because those reviews will help you in the long run. So whether it's on Facebook or Google My Business or TripAdvisor or Trustpilot or whatever review system you're using, if you can ask them to support you by reviewing you, that is something that will help your SEO now and forever.
We've had one final question come in, which I think we can probably answer in 2 minutes. It's I know that the Optix team are big fans of in-person networking as well as social. How has our approach changed during these times of social distancing? And I think the answer is what we're doing right now. So I think, we go to networking events because we like to connect with local people. We like to get out there into our customer base and meet people and talk about what we do and find out what other people are doing. And I think social media and video, as we've kind of already talked about, is the key ways to do that now. I mean, I'm definitely spending a lot more time on LinkedIn, kind of interacting with people, commenting on posts, reading things. Definitely
like
lots
4 blog posts.
Exactly.
In the last week.
Since I've joined Optix, I've been saying I need to write a blog post, and now I've written like 3. So, you know, it's finding new ways to connect with people, I think. And, you know, that's definitely something that we might actually take out of this. When we can go back to networking, I think some of us will still enjoy doing the things that we've started to do now. So.
Yeah, there've been some quite good examples, I think, locally, haven't there, of people, of networking groups that have spun off into kind of mini Microsoft Teams networking, and get-togethers and sort of helping each other through this and supporting each other. The other thing that I've seen actually is that some of the networking groups that I'm a member of have created WhatsApp groups for the first time, and actually really got a very, very supportive nature to them. They're sharing quite a lot of funny videos as well, but also just nice kind of tips and advice between each other that they didn't do before, you know, and that's great, because I've now got access to people that I would have only seen once a month or once every quarter, and I'm now interacting with them almost on a daily basis on places like WhatsApp. So yeah, I just think it's different. I think it's, you know, it's not a bad thing. I'm looking forward to being able to network again at some point in the future, but you know, it's just different, and we've all got to get used to that. So we've done an hour, guys. I can't believe it.
For an hour.
I can't believe it. I didn't think it was going to go that quickly. But I mean, hopefully people, I haven't really been able to look at the comments because I needed to focus and concentrate, but hopefully people have found it useful. I mean, you know, it'd be interesting to get some feedback, and this is our first one. So, you know, at least we've got it done. It might not have been perfect, but we're certainly interested in trying to do more of these, aren't we? And maybe make them about certain topics and certain sessions. So any feedback really is going to be welcomed, isn't it?
Yeah, we had some. So Paul Brophy said, awesome, thanks all. Kurt Lewis said, Al, you've got enough people in your house to keep you networking.
That is true, Kurt.
And then we've had who is it? Ben Rothaway said, thanks guys, great tips. So thank you very much to everyone for joining us. And thank you to Al, and thank you to Becky, and I don't know why I'm doing the thank you, but
yeah, it's like an Oscar speech.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we will be doing some more of these. So everyone who filled out the sign up form, I've got your email addresses now, so I can email you about following events, and obviously also it will be all over our social media accounts as well. So let us know if you want us to talk about something else, or if you want to see a different format or different tips, that kind of thing, and hopefully we'll speak to everyone again soon.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. We're going to stay here because we're going to be turned off in a minute, but we'll be quiet.
All right.